In the not-so-distant future on a planet called Earth, it's Underoos.
Star Wars Boba Fett is here. That means Darth Vader's always near. C-3PO is lots of style. And R2-D2 just makes me smile. Star Wars Underoos are here, yeah! Something out of sight in underwear.
Don't be so ridiculous, R2. Underoos are for Earthlings.
Hello there.
Cringe. So cringe.
Whatever. It's amazing. Thank you to Star Wars Underoos sponsoring the Dork Forces. I'm just kidding. They've been long dead.
Gratefully so as well. Yes. Hello and welcome. 'Tis another Tuesday, which means another Dork Forces podcast. Yes.
A spooky podcast. Indeed.
Yes. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Before we get started, though, I did want to have a quick rant. Katara said this before, and so it's kind of my turn to sort of pick up the gauntlet this week because there's just been kind of a slight continuation of Andor hates, but it's also the weekend for me at least has been a bit introspective and definitely a reminder of how all is as the Force wills it, and you can't.
Well said.
We can never control what other people think or how other people will react, but we can always control how we react and what
100%.
we choose to put our energy towards. And so there was I couldn't tell if this person was a troll or if it was real, but I saw a tweet that said,
what did it say?
You can't call me a hater if I'm simply pointing out how bad the show is. And that doesn't fuck you. And then
not you, Amy.
So it's when it comes, I don't know, it's I'm a Star Wars fan, right? So it's
which means what? Which means what? You're a Star Wars fan.
I sometimes get hate on because it's just oh, well, you're a fan, so you just enjoy everything that's Star Wars. And it's no, there's definitely things that I don't regularly watch, but it's just I'm open to the concept that Star Wars is it's an idea, right? There's so many things that you can do with it. There's so many stories within it. It doesn't have to be the same thing every single fucking time, which is
exactly. It's kind of a weakness in a way that everything seems to need to conform to the exact same format. It's an entire galaxy of storytelling out there. Why does it all have to be the same? If you want Star Wars to truly be successful and survive forever, it's going to need more than one flavor because there's so many other people out there in the audience that watch shows that avoid Star Wars because they're not into pew, 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 and they're not into car chases, and they're not into the action. They want exposition and character-driven elements. And, Andor's bringing that to the table. I think, honestly, it's an issue. I think people have made it a pastime to just find things to nitpick about. And I completely agree with you. I think it's whatever energy you're putting into it, you're going to get back. So if you're putting your energy into negative discourse, that's what's going to be surrounding you,
Yeah. And it's and some of these people already have this concrete state of mind that it's oh, I've already decided that I'm not going to like it. So there's nothing that you can say
even
to
come out.
change my mind. Fuck. Yeah. So there was this dude over the weekend at my local hobby shop or local game shop that I was doing a dice game with. And it's kind of like Yahtzee, I guess. You roll dice and 5 dice. And depending on what the symbols are or what the numbers are, allows you to do whatever sort of move or whatever. And the character that I was playing for the dice game specifically has the ability to manipulate and change my dice, right?
Okay.
But one of the people that I was playing with, who was in their 50s and 60s, like accused me of cheating, like stood straight up, stormed the table, and was like, "You're fucking cheating. You've like manipulated your dice 3 times. I'm never fucking playing with you again."
Whoa.
And so and I'm just
Was this
like,
person aware that you had the ability to manipulate your dice? That was in the, did they know that was in the game?
Too. But kind of what relates to this same situation is they've already built themselves up to this emotional standpoint of like, this show isn't what I wanted, or like, you did this move where I expect you to just roll your dice. I should be able to do X and then you do Y. But it's like, no, my character or this show has these things or is built this way that like presents itself in this particular fashion. But because of the fact that it's not presented in the package that is best for these older generations, they immediately want to just like be all huffy and buffy about it. But
It quickly goes to the point of gatekeeping.
Yeah.
You know, they don't. Yeah. It's been theirs. They don't want it to stop being theirs, and they don't want to stop feeling that sense of ownership over it. You know.
And it's like it didn't matter what I would say at the time. I was at that point. I was just like, whatever you say. Like it's not either A, I could be all gusto and start fighting and be like, how fucking dare you, like, you know, accuse me of cheating. But at the same time,
give that energy right back to them. Right.
Exactly. Like, is it worth getting into a physical altercation over a dice game?
Never.
With some 50-year-old whoever gives a fuck white dude?
I mean,
same with these Twitter arguments and these Twitter fights of like, oh, how can you call me a hater? Or it's like, oh, Andor is the worst thing to happen to Star Wars. Do you watch Caravan of Courage on a regular basis? Do you not to shit on animation? Because I can already see it now. Bendu hates animation. But do you
regularly the headlines flying?
Do you watch the Ewok cartoon? Like, you know, there's plenty of other things that are quote unquote bad for Star Wars. Like, fuck off. Like, this is like, shit.
And there's definitely like a threshold that people can cross for me where like if someone freaks out that intensely, it gets to a certain level where like, because I get defensive and I have a tendency to want to argue back. But if they get that wild about it, it's like something is wrong in your life and you're hurting right now. And then it switches to empathy, and I stop seeing you as some sort of a debate opponent and more as like, oh, you're a person that needs some sort of help. Would it help you more if I just completely disengage, or should I say like, I'm sorry, like completely changes?
But I also wasn't gonna like
Star Wars can be an outlet for other frustrating things that are happening to you. So like, God damn it, Star Wars, because you just lost your job or something. I don't know. It's a scapegoat, you know, emotionally.
So it's just like, you know, and immediately trying to make that decision of like, all right, well, the Force is going to help me with this. I can either, again, like I can either rage out and fight back and like go into a whole, you know, Twitter debate of like, you know, XYZ of what Andor is supposed to be and how it's a world building experience and it's a story ladder because like we get Rogue One. So it's like this series is a journey story, you know?
Absolutely.
It's like, but it's like, but the dice thing, it's like half of me was like enraged because it's like, how dare you
100% humanizing
how dare you fucking insult my character integrity? But at the same time,
legit,
it's not worth getting into a fucking physical altercation over a fucking
board. Did the altercation look anything like this?
Fuck! You're kidding! Judge. Fuck this game! Fuck you! So I win, right?
Exactly, dude. Oh my god, that was yeah.
Well, stop playing with that guy. The table flip is a classic. Yes, it's a classic clip.
That's exactly what fucking happened.
Go on, Francis. We love you, Francis.
Yeah. This was the fucking game too. So like, this is the fucking game.
Marvel Dice. I don't even know Dice.
Yeah, dude, it's a fucking dice game. Yeah, and it's just like, yeah. It's just like It's like either I could sit down and try to explain to you why you're wrong and explain to you the rules, or I could just like try to not give a fuck. But still, like, you know, it gave me a panic attack. So I spent 3 days internally raging about it. Of like,
sure, I mean,
like this motherfucker. But like, yeah, I'm just glad it didn't get to the rage point. But still, Andor, similar thing. Like, it's just a story. It's just a story. There's so many other
Andor,
aspects of
it
Star
goes
Wars.
beyond Andor. Like, I have been pretty mildly making fun of House of the Dragon in my reactions on Grizzled Wizard because it's a fucking soap opera and there's a lot to make fun of. And I feel like that statement can stand alone beside the fact that I actually really like House of the Dragon and I'm enjoying the show. But people see me making fun of it and they take it so personally and they respond in the comments as if I've personally insulted them. And it's the most bizarre thing. Like, I know that it's fun to turn it into a team sport, you know, go team green, team black, or what have you. But when you start actually like arguing with other human beings over a fictional TV show, like, take a step back, look at yourself. You know, unless your name is Todd Cherniowski and you made the damn thing, you don't get to get offended when someone's talking shit. You know, like, if you didn't make it, relax. It's just another guy's opinion. It is absolutely a dragon soap opera, and it's hilarious.
Well, no, not even. It's a fucking no. It's not even that, because that's what Dragon Tales was. This is a human soap
Dragon Tales.
It's a human fucking soap opera. Dragons just happen to be there. You know, they're the victims in all this. Honestly,
like 100%. These poor dragons are about to get pitted against each other in the finale.
But yeah, so so going on the you know, all is the Force wills it, and Star Wars is about storytelling. Like, there's going to be a lot of new Star Wars. There's going to be a lot of new viewers. I know that there's some who are not going to be watching this live. So again, like, welcome to the people who are here for the Kyle Katarn channel, because we try to look at Star Wars as a collective story, not just as this isn't what I wanted from this universe. How dare they? So,
hey, Cole, glad you could join us.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome to everyone. You have taken your first step to a dorkier world.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll even talk about it in Ahsoka. Like, we'll be given so much good fucking ice cream, and it's going to be so much of a goddamn dessert party when we watch Ahsoka. And there's still going to be
That's true. Ahsoka, Tales of the Jedi, which comes out in like 8 days,
and it's just like
next week.
Like, look at what we were given, you know?
Seriously.
And it's like, that's what being a fan is. That's what being a fan is. And it's like, oh, you can't call me a hater if I'm just going to say it's the worst thing to happen to Star Wars. It's like, suck my ass. That's exactly what you are. Like, you can't try to backpedal that. Like, who the fuck? You know? So, but anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Speaking of House of the Dragon, I thought this past weekend was the final episode. And
there's one more. There's one more left.
I was going to be very underwhelmed. So thank you to Katarn to reminding me of that. So let's talk about House of the Dragon real quick.
House of the D, the hot D.
The how they're kind of taking a page out of the Star Wars book of how everything rhymes, and everything has a pattern.
That's definitely
the oldest Targaryen daughter / Targaryen sibling was supposed to be queen. She got shunned because she wasn't a man. Rhaenyra was supposed to inherit the throne. She just got shunned out because she's not Aegon, of which there's 3 fucking Aegons that are alive right now.
Yes, that part is absolutely symmetrical, but there are other reasons why Rhaenyra got shunned as well.
Yeah. So, like, oof. Foot fetishes are now officially a thing in Westeros.
Oh, God. Yeah. That's the best part of the episode right there.
Unfortunately, like, I read a couple Twitter posts about the foot thing before I actually watched the episode. So, like, in my head, I had a much more horrific idea of what I was about to walk in on.
Okay. Yeah,
it was a lot calmer than it could have been a lot worse.
For sure. I think the surprise is what makes it bad. So the fact that you expected it going in meant it wasn't that awful. But like you super don't see it coming, and then just, oh, this is happening now. What the fuck? So like, yeah, that kind of softened the blow. Definitely seeing it coming. For me, I was like, oh, this is. Come on.
Yeah, like, Allison, how did you let your life turn to this? Like, before, this dude like was trying everything that he could to like get in your good graces. And now you're just, randomly letting him do whatever. Also, so it was also hilarious. So I was kind of like watching this thing and listening to his little monologue. He wasn't telling her shit. All he kept doing was just like bullshitting and like worm tonguing. And like, there wasn't any information that he was actually giving. And it's just like, let me see your feet. Let me see your feet. I'm just gonna say these words. La 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 la.
No, it was very much like
Christ.
he was entitled to it to the point. It was. I think they established pretty clearly that like this has been going on for a while.
For a while.
This is their transaction and has been for probably since before the time skip. You know, like ugh. That Laris.
And then we got Kristen Cole randomly killing a dude now. A fucking council member. Straight up killing a council member. And
dude, those little marble balls, as soon as I saw those for the first time, I was like, that is killing someone at some point. Someone's getting killed with one of those little things. Like he was so against dude, that thing went into his head. It was like inside his fucking brain, dude.
How is he not killed? Bro, shout out also to the Lord Commander of the King's Guard dropping his cloak, and shout out to that
other... speaking of the poetry, it rhymed with Barristan Selmy doing the same thing when Joffrey was installed on the throne, and they let him walk away too.
They forcefully retired him. That was different. They forcefully retired Sir Barristan versus
he threw his sword on the ground. He threw his sword on the ground in protest and walked away. They wanted him to swear fealty to Joffrey.
No, they wanted him to retire. And he was like, no, because they said he was too old. He's like, I'm not old enough. I could kill all these motherfuckers here. And then Cersei was like, but you're still old, so we're going to retire.
Okay. So all right. I misremembered it then. I remembered him going the other way.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Barristan plays the granddad in the show called Dairy Girls, which I just finally finished watching. Incredible show. Extremely funny, very poignant, and very emotional. It's set in Ireland during the Troubles, which, kind of says it all. Awesome show. There's 3 seasons of it on Netflix. And Barristan plays the grandpa in The Little Family. He's so funny. He's so funny in that show. And fucking Varys plays a fortune teller in one episode too. That's right.
Bald guy Varys?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone in the chat has seen Dairy Girls, but that show is amazing.
Negative. Or I mean, I have.
Barristan deserved better, but at least he got one cool fight scene.
Bro,
Granted, he died in it.
Yeah, he got to redeem himself. He got his honor back by, getting to serve Daenerys, and he got to live out the rest of his life as a Queen's Guard. Like he was pretty great. He was pretty great. He did his thing. It was unfortunate that he had to be the one to sell out Khaleesi. Fucking what's his butt? I can't think of his name.
Are you talking Jorah?
Jorah, yeah.
Jorah Mormont, yeah.
Yeah, because he got the letter with the Baratheon pardon, and it was like, you've been spying on our queen. But
excellent. But that was him doing his due diligence. He was like, I'm not fucking it up. I've chosen this faction. I'm going to make it work, Like he was 100% in on Daenerys' side. That's why he ratted out Jorah. It's frustrating for us, the audience, because we don't realize that Jorah has actually turned a new leaf. Because, why would they trust him? They don't know. They don't know.
Same with this Lord Commander of the King's Guard. How Otis Hightower's like, all right, we need you to go to Dragonstone quietly, and we want you to assassinate the royal family. He's like, fuck this. I swore to protect the king. There is no king here. I don't respect your authority. Fuck you. I'm out. And I was like, yes, this guy. And then
he had an opportunity to clean house in that room, and Rhaenys also passed up an opportunity to clean house. I guess she wouldn't have known exactly how horrible things are probably going to get. But, I mean, I don't know. They portrayed her as a smart woman. You'd think she could figure that out. That, it's pretty bad idea to leave all these people just as active threats,
It's true. It is very curious and interesting that she didn't do the good old Dracarys on the entire fucking fan. They were all right.
She was fine with stomping on a bunch of peasants. I mean, right.
A
lot of lives were lost in that scene, but none of them were the lives of people that
mattered.
Were players in the game.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say mattered because that's the whole problem I have with it. But
it's true. But at least her now, I think the Greens only have 2 dragons now. And the Blacks at least have 3 to 4 dragons.
Well, I think Vhagar counts as 2 dragons.
Yeah. Okay. So they got 3 then.
They've got 4 medium-sized ones, and the Greens have 1 medium-sized one and one that's the size of fucking New York flying around.
It's
massive dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of bombers, one of the things that was revealed in the Visions comic is that Ronan's vehicle of choice is a goddamn TIE bomber.
Nice.
That's what he flies around with.
Cool.
Dude,
with
a TIE bomber.
With a what on it?
With nothing on it. It's just a good old-fashioned TIE bomber. And like I'm pretty sure that the second compartment, the bombing compartment, is where his droid like chills.
Hangs out and lives.
Which is dope.
Or he converted the bombing compartment into like, the living quarters, I suppose.
Could be. That would be very cool too. We don't get to see inside it. We just see it parked up on the hill. Team Dragon, 100%.
Yeah.
Fuck the high towers.
Especially now
knowing, I'm all about the dragons.
Yeah, especially now knowing that there's underground kid fighting pits now too.
Yeah, like this whole society just needs to get Dracarys, honestly.
Like, yeah, at least, shout out the one decent thing that Otto Hightower did was he set the building on fire that like, held the underground kid fighting, but Jesus.
I would like to see an alternate history progress from Westeros where all of the humans eventually get wiped out and then dragons repopulate the earth and it's just like a dragon planet. And then we get the Chronicles of Dragon Planet and it could be like a Nat Geo type program where we just learn about what there's like ancient crumbling castles that are thousands of years abandoned and just dragons live there now.
Team White Walkers. I see you.
Team White Walkers, I'm down.
Not everybody's bad though. Not fucking everybody's bad. But yeah, I love how the fucking Lannister dude, the Lannister douchebag, like straight up walked into the room. He's like, "Why are we here so early? Like, what has happened? Did someone invade Dorne?" And it's like,
well, he's pissed. I mean, like he's a Lannister. He had to get all pretty before he came down there. He had to like wake up and like change into his finery and get his stupid hair teased.
And they're like, "No one's invading Dorne, but the king's dead." And he's like, "Oh shit."
He's like, "Oh, I'm an asshole. Never mind. I'm gonna sit down now and be ready for the meeting." Whatever. That's like the unfortunate thing, though. Like, how many times do you walk into something like cracking a joke and like it, because it's an unexpected event and it's not something serious, and everyone's just like, "Oh yeah, ha ha ha." And like the one time the king dies, poor Torsten's got bad luck.
Yeah. It's like
Dragon Tales of Westeros. There we go.
I would watch the shit out of that. Are you kidding me? That would be the best Nat Geo. That would be the best Nat Geo thing in the fucking world. 100%.
I think the best character for me in Dragon Tales was the two-headed one. It always like weirded me out as a kid. You know what I'm saying? But like,
why? I was trying to think of, like, do they have two stomachs?
Oh yeah, it was like how much? It was all about fascinated with the anatomy. I was like, how much double is there? If a knight stabbed one, would they both die? Like,
or if one dies, is it necrotic to the other one? Probably.
If you cut off one of their heads, can the other ones suddenly eat twice as much? Like, did the organs of the other ones suddenly become incorporated into the first? Like, these are the questions that like an 8-year-old shouldn't really be wondering. But
dude, King Ghidorah from fucking Godzilla is the same way. That bitch has 2 tails and 3 heads. Like, explain that shit to me.
What is a beast beneath the floor?
I think that's a book reference.
Well, what it is it's a fucking dragon coming up through the floor. It was very literal.
Of the church, though. That was the church. That wasn't so.
That was the dragon pit.
But like it wasn't. So when the girl,
she wasn't speaking literally from where she was. She was giving a prophecy that a beast's about to come up through a floor, and it literally happened. So that's what I assumed she was saying. Like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, see, I assumed that she meant that there were spies or that they were being listened in on, or like.
See, I took it the other way. I was like, "Ooh, that's a weird prophecy," and then once Melee showed up, I was like, "Oh, that's the beast beneath the boards!" Like, it's quite literal. It was such a literal thing. I really liked how the dragon just like twisted and fit through the doorway. That was fucking dope.
Just barrel.
Dragons are so cool,
dude. Oh god, so yeah.
It took a while to figure out how Rhaenys wasn't crushed by the stones as it came out, but it turns out the dragon used wings to just like create a little armored shell around the rider, which is just so cool.
100%. Plus, she's pretty small, and she's in the crook of the shoulders, so
right,
she's too safe. But the fact that she had like the battle armor on, she had like her
armor was dope. It was dope. I have a preview for episode 10 that I haven't watched yet. Let's check this out before we move on from the Hot D discussion here. Hot D. I know that we're going to get at least one dragon fight coming up by the end of this show, because I've seen pictures on Twitter of 2 dragons duking it out in the rain.
But yeah, this show is definitely just more of like a human soap opera, and there just happens to be dragons. Like, I felt like Game of Thrones was definitely felt like more of a fantasy. Whereas this is just like
Eventually,
This
it
is
took
just a
ages
medieval
before
story.
it felt that way, though, because until like season 4 or 5, we didn't have any zombies or White Walkers, or like
That's fair.
the dragons were tiny, and like
That's fair. That's a good
you weren't
point.
seeing people actively using magic. And then we got to like the Children of the Forest, and people were throwing literal fucking fireballs, and like it really got fantasy as the show went on. But the first
That's
couple seasons were very like talky and like down, like felt more like a historical kind of thing. And I think that they're trying to bring it back to like the early seasons vibe a little bit, because it definitely feels more like early Game of Thrones than like
Because
seasons
it's like
5 through 8.
because that's why I'm glad that we have the juxtaposition of Rings of Power, because it's like that's pure fantasy, you know, like that's fucking elves and
100%.
dwarves. So everyone in the chat and everyone watching, stay tuned because we'll be getting into Rings of Power 100%.
Yes.
But
Yes.
So House of the Dragon, episode 10, season 1 finale trailer coming up.
You'd think they'd make the dragon pit harder to break out of. You'd think that for a show called House of the Dragon, people wouldn't freak out so bad when the dragon gets in the house. It's like it seemed like it was a really big problem. You'd think that they'd be used to this, or at least have like dragon-proofed interiors, you know, of some. I don't know if that's possible, of some sort. But here's the preview for episode 10. Let's go.
The Greens are coming for you, Rhaenyra. And for your children.
Fuck yeah, they are.
You cannot bend the knee to the high tower.
God, I love Daemon's sword.
Every man standing round the painted table urges her to plunge the realm into war.
That fucking table is it glowing or is it just painted?
Send us.
Here we go. Is that Lucerys? Is that Luke?
Yes.
Your cause owns a power that has not been seen since the days of old Valyria.
Yes. Yes.
Finally.
This is gonna get so Jurassic Park so quick.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Oh my god.
Oh, that looked like Lucerys flying against the other. I mean, like we didn't see them both, but we saw the other dragon in the same rainy location was Vhagar.
Dude,
Oh man,
Vhagar's
Vhagar's probably gonna win.
Bro, the Vhagar silhouette in the brain, though. Oh my god.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking kaiju. Exactly, massive. Because she's so old and just nasty, and like, from what I understand, Vhagar herself is kind of a war criminal, has committed many atrocities.
Vhagar's a war criminal, is that what you said?
Yeah,
because she's done a lot of stuff.
That's what I hear is that Vhagar herself, like even without a rider, has like fucked some shit up in her day.
I can believe that.
Yes, she's the size of a goddamn 747. Of course she has.
Yeah, she's the Boeing edition of dragons. What she is.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Dragon on dragon combat is what I am holding out for right now. Yes. Now we don't have extended montages of Viserys being tucked into his blanket because that was great. But now that like I'm in the market for a new main character that is my favorite, because Viserys the First was 100% my favorite character, and now he's gone. Spoiler alert, King died.
Ned Stark ending. He definitely had a good Ned Stark send off in a way. But like
he got to have his little family moment, you know, and thankfully he went to bed before it all descended into chaos.
Dude, right? I was expecting
his nice little memory was preserved.
Dude, yeah, I was expecting him to like keel over at the dinner table. I was like, he was grabbing his heart for a second. I was like, bro, is he just gonna pass out at dinner? Like
I don't know.
For him if he does, but yeah.
I was ready for him to keel over for the first like 8 episodes straight. So by the time we got to the dinner and he did look like he was about to drop dead, I was like, he's not gonna die. Like I was so far the other way at that point.
Daemon versus Aemon confirmed, man. Daemon versus Aemon confirmed. Let's fucking go. Yeah.
Daemon versus Aemon. Yeah, it's totally gonna happen.
Doctor Who versus One-Eyed Pirate. Yeah. The Doctor Who.
I feel like Daemon should mop the floor with Aemon. He's a little wannabe, but because it's House of the Dragon and they let to try and subvert shit, I'm sure that Aemon is gonna win, and Daemon will like shockingly, unexpectedly die.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a Viper in the Mountain situation all over again.
I think so too.
Anyone fighting against Vhagar is going to be Viper versus the Mountain. Like it's fucking Vhagar. It's a massive flying nuke.
It's going to be rough shit. But yes, so going down the fantasy train though, shall we get to Rings of Power.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's convene another session of the Dorks of Power, shall we? There we go.
Yes.
Now we're all set. Yeah. So how about that fucking finale, dude?
Oh. Okay.
It was
so yeah, where do we want to start?
I mean, it's Rings of Power. I think we should just start with the Rings of Power. We should start with the forging of the great rings and just work our way back from there. Because like the detail, man, the detail they put into the actual process of forging it, they made them into the little strips and then they turned them, they did all the twisting, like it was so cool.
They essentially tried to build an elven particle accelerator. Like, can we just talk about that for a second? Like your literal concept was like, okay, if we take these radioactive metals and we take these infinity gems, essentially, that we've harnessed from like the essence of Valinor, we can make this crown and make this circular, unending power loop particle accelerator, and it's just gonna like
exactly
radiation is gonna heal all of Middle Earth. Like, what the fuck? Like, we're gonna try to make this elven alchemy radiation stuff. It was so cool. It was so cool getting to see the 3 individual jewels, because it's like, we know that
100%. That was such a treat.
We know that Gandalf eventually ends up with the gold one with the red gem. Galadriel, we know, ends up with the silver one. Does Elrond end up with the blue one?
Elrond ends up with the blue one. Celeborn ends up with one of them. And I think it's passed from Gil-galad, right? It's originally presented to Gil-galad.
Gandalf doesn't get his ring until after he becomes the White. So
right.
It obviously can't be Galadriel's ring because she probably keeps hers forever. And then, yeah, there's the Elrond ring, and then there's the red ring.
Yeah, that scene of the forging was also like, that's really when they made it clear to us who Sauron was. When Halbrand just sidles in with his fucking little, just try doing this, try doing that. Consider it a gift.
Even before that, like the whole episode was just a complete character arc 180. It was like, as soon as he woke up in the Elven village and realized where he was, and then he was like, oh my God, I'm in the workspace. I'm in the workspace of Celebrimbor. Like
100%, immediately with the flattery.
My master, my master once showed me his work. But it was the sentence, it was the fucking sentence when he said, my master once showed me his works and it brought me to tears. I was like, what was the first thing they told us in episode 1? That Morgoth showed Sauron Celebrimbor's shit, and it brought him so close to tears that he had to destroy it because he thought it was so beautiful. Like
100%. Well, also in the very first episode, he pulls her up on the damn raft, and the very first thing that he says is, not everyone is who they seem, or not everyone is who they appear. And like, from that moment, I was like, all right, pretty boy, I know what's going on here. Mr. All looking fair and feeling foul, like, doesn't fool me. I knew that the stranger couldn't be Sauron. It's not.
I don't know if they were split in half, though. Like, it could have been like Sauron's human half, and then like his magical powers. And
you mean like a fucking Skeksis and a mystic?
Yeah, yes, exactly. And then they have to fuse together, and then they wonder between power, and then they become the Dark Lord of Mordor. Exactly. But that's not exactly what happened.
It was Morgoth brought the tears. The creepy singing at the end was awesome. Fiona Apple killed that song. I love that the words come from Tolkien, and it really, really reminded me of the end of The Two Towers when Emiliana Torrini sings that song about Gollum, and it pans up, and it just shows pretty much the exact same view that Halbrand was looking at.
Yes,
great cloak, by the way.
I was
very good cloak traveling attire for an evil.
It was
evil
the
guy.
same. It was the same send-off scene as Sam and Frodo walking over the mountain ridge towards Mount Doom, and you see the wraiths flying around the eye
right
tower.
After we hear Smeagol being all like, "Let her do it," like fucking feed her to a spider. Come on.
Same. So it's like, oh god, dude. It's like, we know season 2, Adar's gonna get
dude.
Either Adar is gonna have to bend the knee. Either he's gonna have to bend
no. He won't. He will never bend the knee, dude. Adar is gonna fight tooth and nail, and we're gonna get the goddamn civil war of Mordor.
Bro, is that a thing?
That's what they're about to do. The Civil War of Darkness, where like Sauron's orcs versus Adar's uruks. Bro, that's because they said that they're going to humanize Sauron and they're going to show him from like a side where he's not just like epically evil and powerful, but he also has things he has to overcome. The obstacle he's going to have to work to overcome is Adar and his faction of uruks that want to be free. Like, dude, that would be badass. Yes, Adar, R.I.P. Absolutely not going to survive. But like,
have to survive season 2.
I'm still rooting for him. I'm still rooting for him, man. I think my favorite part of the entire episode, though, was the showdown between Galadriel and Halbrand, I guess, in their minds on the raft. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the whole hallucination scene and like
yeah, exactly. It was just like this.
Wake me up inside. Wake me up inside.
Like 100%. 100% that's what was going on.
Oh my god. The angst.
Yeah, no, the angst, full-blown angst. I love that when he does the scream, like the eyes changed and you can see
that
like,
was so interesting.
You could also see the eye of Sauron when they were doing the forging, like in the molten
Yeah.
My
mom and I caught that immediately. Yeah, my mom and I caught that immediately. As soon as they threw the mithril in and it made the little slit and then they just started doing the spinning, I was like, oh my god. Of course it looks like an eye because this is Sauron's influence. This is the power of the unseen world. And the power
that was a little bit loud there. Sorry. Forgot that Amy Lee, she does like to yell, doesn't she? Sorry. Oh man. Well, now you've been woken up inside and you can't complain about that.
Yeah, release me.
It totally changes the context of when she meets her in the Hobbit, when they meet up in the Hobbit again, and she casts Sauron like formless, faithless, go back whence you came. She's talking to her ex, you know.
She's talking to the betrayer, dude. And the big fight hasn't even fucking happened yet. There's so much time still between like that and where we are now. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and the fact that he had the gall and the audacity to take the hallucination form of her dead brother.
I know that was disrespectful as fuck.
Pissed.
I can't believe he did that. I mean, I can. He's goddamn Sauron, but like.
And then they had to.
I love that he's just some regular guy from Yorkshire too, like with that accent.
And the fact that they had to melt down her dead brother's dagger. That she had to let go
that was a really nice way to show that progression for her, you know, like because the dagger kind of became the MacGuffin in a way, you know. It 100% represented Finrod, so the fact that she melted it down is like the best way to visually depict her letting him go, you know.
That's true.
To let the audience kind of forget about him too, because we know that he's gonna like show back up in a big dramatic twist of fate in the future, you know. Touching back on what you were saying as well about like the haters kind of with Andor, I think that another big victim of that was Rings of Power.
It's true.
I reacted to it on YouTube and I got the overwhelming majority of the comments were positive, but there were definitely people that were clearly like parroting weird talking points that heard elsewhere and like trying to like brigade reactions and discussions that were like favoring the show and thinking that it was good and not just bashing it. And I found that to be a little sad, and I also found it to be a little confusing that people think that it's so far outside of Tolkien. I mean,
a lot of it. I'm still amazed the amount of racial discourse that happens because Obi-Wan got a lot.
For sure, yeah, the racial thing is just ugh.
I mean, obviously, Force Awakens, obviously the sequel trilogy got a lot of backlash because it was its first, you know, really introduction of using people of color in their casting. But the amount of fucking tension from viewers for Rings of Power was definitely on the same level of Obi-Wan. I think it's because they were on completely different streaming services that you had completely different demographics complaining about the same thing, which is also fucking obnoxious. But it's like with
Rings of Power.
You know Tolkien? Were you best friends with Tolkien? Like, did you help him write the original book? Like, sucking ass.
No, yeah, I don't know. It's the whole thing of like having a Disney Plus subscription does not make you an executive producer. Like, Disney Plus has the crowd that are really into Marvel and want Star Wars to be more like Marvel, and so you have a lot of that mindset criticizing Andor, and then Rings of Power is on Amazon, and you have a lot of people that think that The Boys is the best show ever, and they would rather have that style of action, and so they criticize Rings of Power for being too slow. Like, I am really looking forward to whatever action ends up kicking off in season 2, because the way they did the action set pieces in season 1 really proved it to me. They know what they're doing. Like the whole episode of Udun, from the watchtower coming down to the fight in the valley in the village to the fucking explosion, like it was nonstop badass action, like the entire episode. So any concerns that I may have had about that,
think of right now, but Durin's
right
wife,
out of the head.
Yeah, Durin's wife, also a fucking goddess. Like
Disa or Disa, yeah, she was great.
Bro, her singing to the rocks. Oh my god, her inspirational speech on her last episode. But yeah, Reva and a lot of the other characters for Rings of Power are just getting unnecessary hate. Lord of the Rings is also much older than Star Wars too, so I feel like
for sure
it's getting more fan hate just because there's potentially more.
But just in order to kind of address the whole this is a bastardization of Tolkien and it has nothing to do with the original works, I would like to present to you this page from the Silmarillion of the Rings of Power and of the Third Age, in which their tales come to an end. Let's take a listen and see if this sounds like anything that we just watched, all right? Of old there was Sauron the Maya, whom the Sindar and Beleriand named Gorthar. In the beginning of Arda, Melkor seduced him to his allegiance, and he became the greatest and most trusted of the servants of the enemy, and the most perilous, for he could assume many forms, and for long, if he willed, he could still appear noble and beautiful, so as to deceive all but the most wary. When Thangorodrim was broken and Morgoth overthrown, Sauron put on his fair hue again, and did obeisance to Eonwe, the herald of Manwe, and abjured all his evil deeds. And some hold that this was not at first falsely done, but that Sauron in truth repented, if not only out of fear.
Damn it, so it did happen.
By the fall of Morgoth and the great wrath of the lords of the West. But it was not within the power of Eonwe to pardon those of his own order, and he commanded Sauron to return to Aman and there receive the judgment of Manwe. There Sauron was ashamed, he was unwilling to return in humiliation and to receive from the Valar a sentence, it might be, of long servitude in proof of his good faith. For under Morgoth his power had been great. Therefore when Eonwe departed, he hid himself in Middle-earth, and he fell back into evil, for the bonds that Morgoth had laid upon him were very strong. This is describing Halbrand and Halbrand's arc to a T.
Oh my god, that's
You
perfect.
can find Halbrand on page 1 of the chapter of the Rings of Power in the Silmarillion. It is the 5th section of the Silmarillion. But that tells me all that I need to know, that they are paying attention to the source material, and they are working very carefully to try and build an authentic feeling story, tiptoeing around the things that they simply don't have the rights for. And I don't think any criticism of that can be done in good faith, knowing what an insurmountable task that really is. But like, there it is. They don't call him Halbrand, but this is the description of exactly what he did here.
Bro, speaking of shapeshifters, can we talk about the 3 triplets for a second too? Like,
yes, the fashion police.
Straight up also like using the absolute powers of Sauron. So I thought that it was interesting that they're like this weird Sauron cult, but at the same time, I couldn't distinguish, like, are they actually followers of Sauron, or are they just people who are trying to like turn this potentially naive Sauron to their will? Because they're like, yeah, let's go to the Rune. Let's go to this land called the Rune, and we'll explain to you everything.
Dude, Rune sounds fucking dope. When I watched the Two Towers for the first time and Sam and Frodo were up at the Black Gate, I was like utterly fascinated with the Easterling army that goes marching into Mordor. I'm like, who are these weird humans in like red cloth and gold armor? It's all spiky and they're marching in there. And the dude, the general yelling the orders sounds like fucking Matt Pike from Sleep somehow. Like, it was awesome. And those are the men of Rune, is the Easterling armies.
Yeah,
and the Games Workshop tabletop game has really expanded like visually what Rune stuff looks like, and I really like what Games Workshop has done, because they've taken a lot of the concept art and then just sort of like come up with what would be standing next to that, you know. So we have all of these named units, all of these like chariots and legions and things. It's totally badass. And if we end up traveling to Rune at some point, I would love to see like Easterling culture in its own habitat, not just like these foreign legion soldiers that have marched to Mordor, you know, like,
yeah,
really fascinated by that. And we know that the Blue Wizards are in Rune too. So
do we? How do we know the blue wizards are in the room?
It's mentioned in the Silmarillion that they're in the east. And the only really populous place in the east at that time would be Rune, I think.
That makes sense. So yeah, okay. So we got this amazing. So we also got this amazing wizard fight. We got this amazing, fucking just Rasengan from the stranger. And then the last thing the stranger says is a straight fucking Gandalf quote.
Right. Always follow your nose.
And I'm pretty sure the stranger like does 2 Gandalf quotes because, or at least like when he explains the definition of Ishtar, when the Harfoot's like, what was the other word that the person called you? It's like it sounded like Ishtar. He was like, oh well, that means so and so, but in your
wise one,
wizard,
also wizard.
And it was like, oh fuck, like oh man, like is this dude Gandalf? Like I was really,
I think they're making him Gandalf. I think they are. I
was really rooting for him to be Saruman.
I'm still calling him Amazandalf.
I was really rooting for it to be Saruman or one of the other wizards because I thought it would be too.
Saruman came first.
Obvious.
The leader of the Ishtar came first, but there's nothing to say.
He's the oldest and wisest of the old.
Right, but we don't know that Amazandalf landed first. We simply saw him land and didn't see the others land.
This is true.
So for all we know, Saruman landed months to years ago, hundreds of years. Who knows? And we just, the story, we're tuning in now to these Harfoots who are finding maybe not the first, but a wizard who's falling, you know? That's the thing, is that there's thousands of years in this timeline, and there's a lot of, many leagues of land in Middle Earth, and there's a lot else happening besides where the camera's focused.
But yeah, seeing
Rip Sadok, that was real sad.
Oh, yeah.
Like, every Harfoot survives except for the old black guys. The one guy you got to kill off, right? Come on.
Taking a throwing crescent to the stomach. That was true. But like seeing off, like, but seeing this, I'm just still gonna call him the stranger until he uses the G word, till he uses the G name. But seeing the stranger like pick up the staff and just get to, that was the second Gandalf reference. He picked up the other person's staff and he did the
you shall not pass. He just didn't say it.
Thing.
I'm kind of confused about the cult.
Magic look, though, the way that they made the magic look, and
it looks so dope. It looks so dope
when he does the ice shit and the chanting when he brings the apple tree to life, and it's just
when she blew the dust into his face to like try and knock him out as well. Looks really badass. And when she made the fire shoot out at the Harfoot huts in the previous episode, also looked really cool. I'm a little concerned, or not maybe concerned, but like. Confused about the cult because they're referred to as the cult of the eye, and they have the eye on the staff.
Mm-hmm.
Sauron,
but they have the stars on their shield bulges.
Right, but where is this eye coming from? Because Sauron doesn't manifest as an eye for the first time for thousands of years, or at least hundreds of years.
Dead, right?
There's about 200 years to go until he gets the ring cut from his hand, and then he reincorporates as an eye. Exactly. So how do they know about the eye? It's in the future. Is there another eye in the lore besides the eye of Sauron? Could it be the eye of Melkor or the eye of Morgoth? I don't know enough about the lore to know who else's eye it could be. And Tolkien, I don't know. I guess he's repetitive enough to have multiple big creepy eyes in the same faction. Why not? We've got Aragorn, son of Arathorn, so anything's possible, right?
It's true.
The eye is something they added. Okay. Well, it's simply confusing to me because it implies that they are time travelers of some sort.
Well, I mean, how the fuck did they had some pretty powerful magic. They were going almost to, like, granted, it was 3 of them, but they still were going pretty toe to toe to a newborn Gandalf.
It took 3 of them to go toe to toe with a newborn, but they did have a lot of intel on their side. I think someone much more powerful than them sent them, you know?
Yeah.
Someone who could have absolutely mopped the floor with Amazandalf if he or they themselves had been there, you know?
Droid Herder, I see you there, because if they're using just the symbolism of the third eye to be someone who like sees beyond things, like that would 100% that would 100% make sense, because that's Sauron's whole thing of like controlling things outside of the unseen, and the whole flesh beyond flesh quote. Dude, okay. Also, the fact that when Galadriel was asking Celebrimbor, like, those words, where did you hear those words before? Or like, what made you use that sentence? And he's like, oh, what sentence? I didn't say anything. Like, and it was so it was so mirroring and so mimicking of like anyone who held the Ring of Power and like automatically had some amnesia of anything that they would say or do. Of like, oh, I'm sorry, I went besides myself. I don't know why I said that or did that. And it was like, bro, they're like they're forecasting so hard. Like,
no, they're doing a really good job of that. I think that we're going to end up seeing
character tilt with Halbrand, and I was like, oh my god, everything makes sense now. And just like, yeah. The way in the forgery, the way in the laboratory room, how Celebrimbor just almost seemed like this newborn who was like, oh, I never thought of it that way, or like, oh, how could I have thought of like using ores in different ways? And like fucking Halbrand, this human dude who's just like,
random dude.
About this? Have you thought about using nickel? Have you thought about blah da 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 da? Let's make a particle accelerator. He's like, oh, jolly good, let's do it. Tell the king. It's like, fuck.
That's exactly what he wanted you to do. No, like, I don't know. I feel like Celebrimbor should have known better. If he really is a legendary smith, then everything that Halbrand said to him should have either been like, oh, that's elementary knowledge, or it should have made him suspicious that a random lowborn mortal knows this stuff. And I talked about it in one of my reactions, the fact that the Numenorians are supposed to be like upwards of 7 feet. They're very, very tall people.
Mm-hmm.
Galadriel is short. Morfydd Clark is fairly short, so that worked height-wise. But Halbrand was like eye to eye with Elendil, Miriel, all of them. And I just was like, okay, I guess they're not doing the height thing. But no, it was totally a little subtle hint that Halbrand is a glamour and that it's not really, he's just like adapting, to blend in, and that he's actually not as tall as a human. He's as tall as a fucking Numenorian all of a sudden. But we didn't notice because there's only Numenorians there and an elf who's shorter, but normally.
That's true. He was taller than a lot of the other elves. Now I think about it, and that
100%. He was very good at deceiving people. Bro. And there are shots of Numenorians next to humans, and the humans are pretty short. Like comparatively.
Oh, like in the village scene, you mean?
When they arrive at Middle Earth, there is a little bit of a height difference. And so once Halbrand is like eye to eye with everyone, it's like, wait, is your height changing, bro? What the fuck is going on here? I chalked it up to lazy filmmaking. Turns out Halbrand is a magic fucking disguise. Who knew? Totally works though.
Dude, her
low man is totally a hurtful insult, especially when you're talking to like a fucking Maiar.
bro, and just like Galadriel doing the family background check and like just holding that scroll of like, you're using the identity of a 1,000-year-old dead man. Who the fuck are you? And he's like,
oh my god!
My plan all along, He-Man.
Fuck you, He-Man. F in the chat for the poor archivist at Eregion who had to like pour through thousands of years of lineages to find this family tree scroll and rush it to Galadriel just for her to dramatically throw it on the ground.
And for it to end up in the water.
Yeah, and then it gets dumped in the water. Like some poor dude spent like 3 hours like throwing his back out in a shelf trying to like find that shit.
Rather, he just had to walk down like 10 flights of stairs to try to find that shit.
Gil-galad is one condescending motherfucker. And you know what? That makes him the perfect elf king. Because they are all condescending as fuck. That is one of the racial traits of an elf. They're condescending. That's why Elrond, the half elven, is such a nice guy. Because that's the half he doesn't have.
Facts. Even Legolas in the granted,
dude, Legolas is a prick in The Hobbit. He is. I'm sorry, but he is.
Which is perfect, right? For his
he wasn't even supposed to be there, and he shows up, and he's a dick on top of it.
That's what I'm saying. Legolas wasn't even in the book. He wasn't even supposed to be there. But character-wise, like
it works. It
Legolas
works
at that age, and then that was also the first time we get to meet his dad, Thandril. And it's like when you get to meet his dad, everything makes sense.
It also makes sense when you think about Mirkwood being this weird little like libertarian offshoot of regular elf society. You've got like Lothlorien and you've got Rivendell and everything. Pretty kosher. And then Mirkwood is like a compound in the woods.
That's fair. What city are we in right now? Because this is the same abandoned city that we get to see in Return of the King that the ship sails off from. But what fucking city are we in right
now? Which city? You talking about Numenor?
No, the big elf city that we're in.
Eregion is what it's called.
Eregion, okay.
And that's where Celebrimbor's Forge is located. And I don't think that's where we set sail from in Return of the King.
Oh.
I don't know where we
remember which of the Elven kingdoms we've like got to see. So it's like there's Rivendell, but Rivendell doesn't exist yet because Elrond builds that shit. Galadriel goes to Mirkwood, or is Mirkwood where Thandor?
The microfiche. We don't see Mirkwood in Lord of the Rings at all. We only see it in The Hobbit. Mirkwood is where Thranduil and
That's where Thranduil lives. Where's
Thranduil
Galadriel?
and Legolas, and it's referenced because Legolas travels from Mirkwood to Rivendell in Fellowship for the meeting, but we never see Mirkwood.
And then where's Galadriel live?
Galadriel lives in Lothlorien with Celeborn, which is right on the borders of Khazad-dûm.
Gotcha. So then, what was the Return of the King city? Potentially,
the Elvish city that we see. The only Elvish city we see in Return of the King is Rivendell when Elrond and Arwen are arguing about the vision of her child.
The one that we set sail from.
I don't know. It could be Eregion, but
because it's hella abandoned and it's a really big elf city.
We see the ruins of Eregion in Fellowship? When?
When do we see it in Fellowship?
You're not talking about the watch. We see the ruins of the Watchtower of Amon-Sul.
Yeah.
We go to the ruins of Amon-Hen at the end, because Amon-Hen is where Lurtz fucking steals Merry and Pippin.
Yep.
And kills Boromir.
Yep.
And we see Rivendell, which is not a ruin. I don't recall any other ruins that we see, except for Khazad-dûm and Moria and all that stuff.
Oh, that's the Grey Havens?
The Grey Havens is the destination.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was like I thought that was the
Grey Havens is a common tongue for Valinor.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going to. But I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out the city in Return of the King where Gandalf the White, where Bilbo and where everyone leaves.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the final place, pretty much.
Yeah.
Is it Lindon? Is it? Oh, okay. The capital of Lindon, which is where what's his face? Elrond was living at. Elrond and Gil-galad were there, yeah? No, okay, so they do leave from the Grey Havens. I thought the Grey Havens and Valinor were synonymous on the other side of the shores. Okay, my bad. So that is the Grey Havens then.
Does
the Grey Havens have an Elvish name? Is it one of the cities that we've seen?
I was gonna say I would totally live in an elven city named Grey Havens. Fuck yeah.
Gotcha. It is on the western shore. Got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, we learned something. We did not know this. Before we move on from Rings of Power, I'm trying to find an image here of the ridiculous
the amount of lore that they're giving us. I really actually kind of like Gandalf's new voice now I think about it. And again, like the fact that it's not trying to lead up directly to the Peter Jackson universe, like I kind of really liked how retro the elven rings looked. Like
totally
very handmade and looked different enough from the rings that were the Noble Collection rings that we're familiar with. Like, yeah, we were still able to know like, oh, that red stone's the fucking fire gem, sort of thing.
I saw a comment in here earlier speculating that maybe each season will be devoted to a different set of rings.
That'd be cool.
Since we know there's 5 seasons planned, the first season was the 3 Elvish rings. Next season could be 9 for the men or 7 for the dwarf lords. Yeah,
it has to be 7 for the dwarven lords. I feel like the 9 for the men who are doomed to die. Like that has to be after Sauron's been like, I'm playing good. No, I'm not.
He's got to deal with Adar first. He's got to deal with the Civil War before he can create those 9 rings for the rings of men. But what if that's season 3? Season 4 is the one ring to rule them all. Ooh, and then season 5 is the fucking last battle on the slopes of Mount Doom.
Bro, what if season 2 is like the dwarves have to create their own rings of power and then they have to fight the Durrensbane Balrog?
Yeah.
Season 2 is all about Season 2 is all about the Balrog and like the Battle of Mordor.
Balrogs and civil wars in Mordor. God damn, dude, it sounds badass. I think that's exactly what their plan is. Elf rings, dwarf rings, men rings, the one ring, and then just the massive battle. Season 5 is gonna be nonstop, just like payoff. Can't wait.
It's so sick. I'm loving this thing, man. Like
I really am too.
There's some visual things that like I just have to get over like actor choice every now and then, but it's just like it's still like story wise, it's still super cool. It's still
100%. It is a visual feast. Oh, there was a comment in here that I'm trying to find. Yes, it is a little off topic, but actually not really. I am absolutely looking
Bro,
forward
that's
to the
next
new
month.
Willow series. It's next month. Can't wait.
Yeah.
The fact that
Speaking
we
of amazing fantasy, because
during-
that's gonna be giving us our fantasy needs, because like
House of the Dragon will be done by then. Yeah.
By the end of October, Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon is gonna be done, and Rings of Power is gonna be done.
Ooh. We also get the fucking Dungeons and Dragons movie with Chris Pine. That's coming out at the end of the year too. I can't wait.
We also get Tales of the Jedi is the end of this month. That's
Tales of the Jedi is in like 8 days, dude.
It's like on the 21st.
Yeah, and they're all short. They're like the shortest is 10 minutes and the longest is like 15. So
interesting.
We can definitely get together and like watch them all in a day. We'll react to all of them.
They give it to us all at one time.
They're going to. They're going to drop it the way they drop Visions. That's what they said.
Okay.
So like, yes, that's totally the plan.
Yeah, at some point, either for Grizzled Wizard or just out of our own pure goodness, we're gonna have to do a Willow rewatch just to
100%
familiar real quick.
Yeah, we'll do a like a live watch along stream, or maybe we'll release like a commentary track to go along with Willow or something like that. Because I definitely want to rewatch it before the show, and actually watching Amazandalf fight the Fashion Police using the magic combat. That was one of the things that it made me think about. I was like, oh man, Willow's going to be so sweet because it's nothing but magic combat, man. Yes, there's swords and bandits and stuff, but there's trolls and wands and like transformation spells.
It's going to literally just be a D&D TV show. And like
a man's using a flamethrower out of his little wand.
And like the most powerful member is going to be like a halfling sorcerer. Like Willow is literally a halfling sorcerer.
He's like level 10 though. He's a level 10 wizard.
Yeah, and we're gonna have all these rogues and like fighters joining with him, and we're gonna have to fight lich lords and fucking trolls, and yeah, it's gonna be some goodness. It's gonna be some hopefully Jim Henson goodness, because like even though the dude's dead, I'm hoping that we get some.
It's a creature feature for sure, and the spirit of Jim Henson absolutely lives on. There's so many good puppetry like productions happening.
Dark Crystal was fascinating, but like
Dark Crystal, I was about to say, so good.
That was also Netflix money, and this is Disney Plus money. So
it was. So it's going to look even. And like honestly, like Netflix money is nothing to scoff at. Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance looked fantastic. Like
disappearing pig tricks. I see. Okay, is it disappearing pig tricks when you're turning humans into pigs?
No, that was Bavmorda's. No, that is Bavmorda's bullshit spell. The disappearing pig trick is what he does at the fair in his village when he's doing magic tricks before he fails to become the High Nelwyn.
That's right.
I love Willow. Man, that movie. I can't overstate what an impact that shit had on me. Me and my siblings used to be able, we would sit around and just like say the whole movie, like
word for word.
Take turns doing the dialogue lines, like
and just feed it to each other. Oh my god, yeah. That's amazing.
Where is she? Bring me the child. No dog sounds. Ah! Like do the whole movie. Yeah, Hup for the win. Someday I'm gonna have a puppet of Hup with his spoon, like in a glass case. I know that Weta Workshop makes one. I really, really want one. Disappearing pig trick came back in the end. It's how he was able to trick Bavmorda with the baby. But he was asking if it was when she's like, "You're all pigs.
You're all pigs." Yeah, bro, that was so fucked up. It was terrifying.
Awesome.
He turned an entire human army. Do you imagine like how much magical power you would need to do that? Like an
100%.
entire battalion of men into pigs, like boom, like oh my god, oh my! And then her daughter, and then she had the gall to turn her. You betrayed me, daughter.
Traitor child! I must despise you now. God, her acting is. Oh my god, she was amazing. She was amazing. I am gonna find the pigs clip, and I am gonna be careful this time. Because the last time we started watching a clip from Willow, we just sort of sat here and watched like 20 minutes of the movie, and the stream got unplugged because fucking we're,
That's true. This is
only a minute long, so we're safe. We're safe.
Yeah. While Guitarn is searching for this clip, in good like relative fashion too, to Andor, to Rings of Power, the season finale of She-Hulk. A lot of people were expecting this big, huge superhero fight sequence, and what was it? It was a fight on the haters. It was everything.
I loved it.
It was an internet, the big villain ended up being the internet, and
it was deliciously meta. I really enjoyed it. It was
unapologetically meta, and so yeah, so Yeah, welcome to Dork Forces and the Kyle-Katarn pod, and the Kyle-Katarn channel, where we're not afraid of the meta. We're not afraid of new content, and yeah, we'll just speak it how it is. We're not here for
legit. It's
down with the clickbait.
We will never bullshit you guys. We will tell you exactly how we feel, and we will not modify our opinions to appeal to what the audience wants us to think. Like, if I don't like something, I'm going to tell you that I don't like it, but I'll do my best to explain why without trashing it or hating on it, because chances are someone worked really hard on that thing,
Yeah.
And that's just my personal philosophy. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to be that way.
Bro, everyone in the chat saying Kevin. Exactly. It's Kevin. It's all the Kevins in the world that are complaining about Andor right now because there's
Kevin was hilarious
explosions and there's not enough big cinematic things, and it's like, this isn't Star Wars. This isn't Star Wars, and it's like, this is a different part of Star Wars.
I didn't understand the post-credit scene.
This is a story, huh?
Was the point? Was just the point of it that it was random?
Yeah.
Or is it setting up the sun?
Oh, with the Hulk kid, dude. I had to do like a Google breakdown. I wasn't
sure what I was looking at there.
What? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, the Kevin robot was just like, yeah, it was 100%. And the internet is the internet is intelligentsia, and all the stupid white boys.
All the bros on Twitter are intelligentsia, and then Feiji's actually Kevin, Kevin. All right, here we go. I found the pigs clip. Best part of Willow, and scariest as well.
Come for Laura Dannon.
You dare to challenge me?
Oh, Val Kilmer.
Warriors. You're pigs.
This was terrifying when I was a kid, man.
Prime acting. And dude, the visual transformation, dude. Like, look at this.
This is some like Weta digital magic right here.
Practical effects, man. This is Sam Winston.
That guy right there, Eric. He had the best death sequence when Kale kills him, and he's all. It's so good.
Hey, Samaka.
Yes. Ooh, look at that.
It's like whoever made this movie like had the Werewolves of London people, and they were like, hey, we really like what you did with American Werewolf in London, and we need your help turning people into pigs.
Sorsha, no.
Gosh, she was so hot.
Yeah, she was. She was my first crush. That long red hair, man. There's also the spiky sword. She had like the barbed sword.
Dude, the whole army had like skullish barbed swords. Ralph Mortar's army was pretty heavy metal.
Her army is extremely metal. Everything to do with Castle Nockmar is super metal.
Dude, that dude was like top half human, bottom half pig. Terrifying.
She's got a bunch of like bearded roadies just hanging out with her up there.
That's some human centipede shit. But yeah,
100%. But that freaked me right out when I was a kid.
Willow effects, man. Oh,
so
dude. The brownies and the piglets, dude. That was such a beautiful little small detail. Yeah.
No, it was great. And then poor Finn Rizal had to like transform them back one by one, like individually. They had an army of like 5,000 people. That would have taken so damn long. They like sent them into the tent one by one, and she had to like recite a whole incantation for each one.
But they did it.
Respectable. I can dig it. My first live action crush was Sorsha from Willow, but my first ever crush was
Kimberly was amazing
from He-Man.
Kimberly was pretty amazing.
Skeletor's girlfriend.
Oh, that was your first animated crush?
Evil Lynn. Yep.
It's my first animated crush.
She had that whole goth thing going on,
Bro, that's true. I'm sure there's like a couple of Scooby-Doo characters that like I'm
Jesus
right now. Like the Thing.
The Thing? Like Ben Grimm? That's what
yeah.
That's what does it for you? Hey, no, fair
no,
enough.
I think Snow White. I think Snow White was totally like my first animated crush, because I remember being a little kid and like going to Disneyland and her being like the first, character actor I ever saw. And like,
I see.
And my 5-year-old self just being like, oh, it's real. Like, oh my God.
Zuko. I get it. It's that smooth Dante Brasco voice. That's why.
It's that Rufio voice. That fucking Rufio voice. Dude, if we're talking about like Avatar characters, bro, like Ty Lee was pretty damn hot. Ty Lee was gorgeous. Between her
with the living dangerously out here.
Azula.
I never liked Ty Lee. I thought, well, I mean, okay, so I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time in my 30s, so I didn't find cartoons attractive at that point. But
okay, the bounty hunter with the whip, though, the 20-year-old bounty hunter with the whip.
June, right? She was cool. I liked the detail that her Shearshu couldn't smell Aang because he was in the spirit world.
Yeah,
that's dope. That was I liked that. I thought that was awesome.
That was such a cool little offhand.
Like, nature is more connected to the spirit world, like animals are, than humans.
Yeah.
Apparently, I was a Mary Poppins simp when I was 2 to 3 years old, according to my mom. Oh man,
dude, that's totally a mom thing. That's totally a mom thing to bring up too. And it was like, you know,
a
what?
little bit of that chim chimney, huh?
You know, it was so funny. June, yeah, dude.
I know
June.
Yeah, no, May is definitely awesome. I like that she's so understated. She's like the Daria of Avatar.
She totally was. She totally was. And like her and Zuko were just like absolutely perfect for each other. Truly hilarious. Just like their emo love relationship was just like,
I've been watching Korra and I'm really enjoying it. I'm 5 or 6 episodes deep already on Patreon right now. Now that Rings of the Power has concluded and House of the Dragon is just wrapping up, I'm going to start sending him to Nerd Chronic, and he's going to start putting them up on YouTube very soon. So stay tuned.
When are we supposed to get our Werewolf by Night reaction?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll get it soon, though. It's on the workflow.
Hopefully that will be posted and on its way in time for Halloween, because that show,
for sure. It's on Patreon already.
Yeah. So for you non-Patreon people, I hope you get to view it soon, because that was a great little 1 hour roller coaster.
That was really fun, actually. I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping that we get more like it, because Werewolf by Night.
Bolin, oh my god, Bolin was fucking hilarious. Oh my god.
Not Mako. He's supposed to be the hunk of the group.
Yeah, and like when he started,
now Bolin's hella real. He's very much a real person in the story.
His caveman movie character franchise. Oh my god, fucking hilarious! Like they turned him into a complete himbo. Yeah, I love Korra also plays a lot with like the meta of itself, and it was definitely
Red Sonja. I got Red Sonja for you right here.
Yeah,
here she is.
That's bad.
And I agree, Red Sonja is awesome too. I did not know about the existence of Red Sonja until many years later, but Sorsha came first for me. Yes, Werewolf by Night was totally dope.
Nuktuk, yeah, bro. Yeah, I don't know if Katarn's got to Nuktuk yet, but
I have not met Nuktuk yet, but I can tell what you're talking about. No, I'm sure I'll get there soon. So before we left off the podcast tonight, I wanted to talk about the Andor. Just go through the trivia guide like we've been doing for episode 6, The Eye, where we got our heist spectacular. Let's see what kind of information we can glean this time. The Imperial pillbox design on Aldhani is based on illustrations by Ralph McQuarrie for Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back.
Excellent.
Totally. Nice. I actually have that piece on my wall somewhere.
Yeah, I've always loved the ion cannon turrets. They're just a really solid military design.
100%. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like World War II, like emplacements on the beachheads and stuff like that. You know, how it's all just like brutalist and concrete. And the orange squares in Colonel Pettigar's rank badge denote his engineering background.
How?
You know, cool. This is a very unique rank plaque as they come. Like they actually have expanded them quite a bit. Like orange on a rank plaque. That's pretty cool. That's very new.
Is it new?
Yeah, that's totally new. It's usually yellows, reds, blues, and whites and blacks. So orange is pretty new. What else we got? The Aldhani Garrison troopers use a variation of the standard E11 infantry blaster that has a longer barrel and a longer stock. It is based on the E10 rifles seen in Solo: A Star Wars Story, but a step closer to the later E11, making it a sort of E10.5 rifle. Interesting.
I really like the longer blaster. You know, and it's funny because it's like because Leia's holding it the newer version right now.
Right.
And it's like with that the fan film reaction of the trooper going over the new E11 blaster. And it's like it always makes me think now, like, was it the helmets that made the blaster shitty, or was it the blaster itself that made the firing shitty?
Well,
it's
remember
like,
the
hero use the blaster, they can shoot fine with it. But it's like if you put the bucket head on, like
well, remember that fan film from Robert Hernitsky about the Stormtrooper
Wi-Fi,
unboxing the brand new E11, and it had all these fancy features, and none of them worked.
Exactly. So it's like, is that a Bluetooth problem or is that like a blaster issue problem? But
E10, A1, totally something like that, or AB or B1.
But
we do get AK-47 blasters, but you know what? That's fine because so many of the Imperial weapons in the originals are from World War II, and like that's also a Star Wars tradition, you know.
I do particularly like these blasters though because I thought that was a really cool fusion between the like shotgun that the Death Troopers carry and then the obvious.
They have an E22. Yeah, the E22 is nice. I like that it has the really round end.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gun that I favor in Battlefront, actually, the E22.
Next slide.
Dr. Quadpaw, nice. Dr. Quadpaw, that's pretty on the nose. Dr. Quadpaw's Quonset-like hut on the planet Fresno, located in California, was photographed in the hamlet of Bendu Common in the English country of Berkshire. Okay, I don't know if that counts really as trivia. That's more of a meta behind-the-scenes detail, but thank you. I like that. Dr. Quadpaw of Fresno.
Get the hell out of here. We have a bot in the chat too, so that needs. Speaking of needing
troll in the dungeon, probably want to know.
There we go.
As a mark of difference between the Republican Imperial Senate, the new Senate pods have the Imperial cog quite prominently displayed. Yes, indeed they do, because we know that fascist regimes love their logos and love their propaganda. Gotta stick that thing everywhere.
Nobody was there. The fact that it was so empty and no one gave a shit. Well, granted, okay, I guess we did learn that everyone was more interested in their helipads because they were reading the breaking news of how this Imperial, like all this gold just got stolen by the rebels. But like the fact that nobody gave a shit at all about what Mon Mothma was talking about and just how empty the Senate floor was.
And what she was fucking talking about is the beginning of the Gorman Massacre. Do you know about the Gorman Massacre?
Not off the top of my head.
It was one of the big tipping points that occurred during Star Wars Rebels. When the Gorman Massacre goes down, that's when Mon Mothma finally gave her message of dissent and fled, right? Basically, there was a huge civil, peaceful protest going on the planet, right? The Gorman people.
Yeah.
Tarkin fucking lands a Star Destroyer on them.
Just like crashing? Oh.
Yeah. Tens of thousands die. He just parks it right there. The whole protest is they're trying to block the area where they were going to put it, like defying the Empire. And Tarkin's like, fuck it, just set it down anyway.
If they move.
What happens when you get in the way of the Empire?
God.
It's an absolute it's pretty rough. And they reference it in Star Wars Rebels, but we don't see it happen.
Because how are we going to show that?
Tarkin's actually being congratulated for his success quelling the Gorman rebellion, and his new and like he got promoted for it and everything. Like, yeah, no, it's bad. After the massacre, she flees and gets rescued by Phoenix Squadron and rebels. Exactly. So,
nice. Okay.
Considering that we're getting taken right up to Rogue One,
oh god,
we've got to see this moment happen. Now, I'm a little bit more interested almost in what happens to her family, because we know she doesn't take them with her.
I think you hit the nail on the head pretty good last week. I think what you predicted last week of her family just being like, you're a workaholic, you're turning into a nasty liberal, we don't want to be a part of you anymore. Right. We're going to be our own family.
They're going to disown her when she gives her speech. She's going to try and get them to come with her, but they'll be like, we don't even know you anymore, you're a terrorist. Like, yeah,
I think
they don't want to reconcile
with the fact that they're
cushy lifestyle comes from like on the backs of bloodshed and oppression. Like they don't want to think about that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Exactly. Her family is comfortable where they are. And that, I think, is one of the more terrifying aspects of fascism, is when regular folks do nothing because they fear to lose like minor comforts, even though they know that sacrifice would mean people having the difference between life and death, doesn't matter to them. Or I should say it's less that they claim to say it matters, but it matters less than their creature comforts.
Yeah.
Like that's the scary thing, is that all human beings kind of have that in us, that tendency and that potential.
Yeah. Like what
fascism is so fucking terrifying.
like what Skarsgård's character tells all of like the patrons that come into his antique store, how like time stands still here. We're not bothered by the outside world.
Which is the perfect cover. The perfect cover for a political activist to just be like this completely apathetic, like upper crust serving the privileged and the elites. Like, oh, you want some fancy artifacts that we like, you know, expropriated from other cultures? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to know where Luthen got all these artifacts that belong to other alien species and cultures and planets. Like, they like he's really playing into the imperial arrogance of supremacy when he was talking about how the engraving is from a dead language, and he was like, no, but it's kind of fun, you know, you can decide what it says, it's your own secret language,
you can decide for yourself. Yeah, dude,
you guys can just make up what these words mean,
bro.
Because
I want to know.
He doesn't believe that, but it's so, he knows it's so appealing to the average imperial citizen. Like, yeah, we're the empire, we can just decide what that ancient culture's words mean. Like,
I will say in my younger teenage years, I'm totally one of those people who has the kanji tattoos, and I will 100% say like that excuse is like one of the number one things I'll go to. Like someone will be like, oh, what does your chest say? And I'll just be like, it says chicken soup. I'll be like, oh, it says like I'll give
it says wontons half price.
It says whatever I fucking want. Yeah, like it's hilarious, but like, you know, that's the ignorance of people. It's like, oh, that's such a cool design. What does it mean? Peace be with you. Oh, that's so cool. I want it to say peace be with you. Like,
I used to hang out with this girl from Persia, and she was born in America, didn't speak any Persian, but that was her upbringing and her background. And she wanted to get her name in Persian, like tattooed on her. So I went with her to get it tattooed, and then she went to her parents' house, and her dad read it, and he's like, what the fuck is that supposed to say? It's like totally, like she totally looked it up on Google Translate and fucked up her own name in Persian and has it tattooed on her body now. So like,
it's like, why didn't you just ask your parents? Why didn't
and
you
that is her culture, that is her heritage. Like
why
she
didn't
just
you
didn't
just
know the
ask your
language.
Persian parents? Like, hey, what does my name look like?
No, they didn't want her to get the tattoo in the first place, so she had to like do it. She had to do it on her own devices, you know.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Good point.
No, if we're talking regrettable teenage tattoos, I mean,
of different languages though. You don't have any different languages.
Like,
it's different though.
Language involved, but what the fuck am I supposed to do with an Aquaman tattoo?
It's
not even Jason Momoa.
That's not Jason Momoa though. That's Arthur Curry. That's prime Aquaman though.
It's the Patrick Gleason image. It's like
it's not like you have Wakandan written on your arm, you know, or it's not like you have hieroglyphs. It's not like you have hieroglyphs on your arm. You're like, oh, this is Atlantean, you know, like, yeah, it's different. It's different.
I don't know. I feel like if you were a tattoo artist and some skinny white guy came in and he wanted Wakanda Forever tattooed on his chest
in Wakandan,
would you do it, or would you be like, nah, bro, I'm gonna let you think about that for a while?
Let you think about that.
I'm gonna let you give that one some thought, and then you come on back.
Oh shit! Yeah,
it's true. There's a point where no tattoo is preferable, and this is coming from a guy who's inked the fuck up. All right, like
it's great. we learn. You know,
I'm a fan of the rare bearded hook hand Aquaman.
Dude,
I like that era.
Aquaman is the best.
I liked that era. He gets laughed at a lot because considered the worst video game of all time was the Aquaman game where he has the hook hand, and that's all people seem to associate with that era. But like, no, that was a good one.
But I mean, the water hand, he was given that by the Lady of the Lake, right? Like that's
the water hand replaces the hook hand. Yeah. My Aquaman has the water hand.
Yeah, it's
because my artist totally forgot about it, so he just gave him two normal hands, and I was like, God damn it! All right, we'll just color one like it's water, and he was like, yeah, whatever. It worked.
Oh, the Wookiee shields in the back.
Visible in Luthen's gallery in this episode are large Wookiee combat shields, first seen in Revenge of the Sith. Word. Second set of shields, because we also saw energy Gungan shields from the Phantom Menace in a previous episode. Where do you think the next 3 arc goes? In the teaser trailer, there's a scene of Andor hiding from troopers on Ferrix. Think he tries to go back home. I think he goes back for, if not Bix, then Marva and B2 Emo. I think he does go back to Ferrix. We've seen Vel on Ferrix. We've seen Vel on Ferrix, and we've seen Vel on Coruscant talking to Mon Mothma. So
Yeah.
Vel's going to get around, and it's going
to. If anything, this episode tonight might be the confrontation between Luthen and Mon Mothma, talking about how shit needs to get. Yeah, this might be the episode where Luthen gets in Mon Mothma's face, and you're like, "Shit's about to go real, Mon. You want
be down?"
on this
It's
shit,
true.
Mon?
It's true. This whole operation
shit?
happened because she failed to secure the funding.
Yeah.
Not that it's her fault, but like she couldn't come through, and they needed that money. So, I'm thinking, I'm thinking that we're going to see Ferrix, perhaps. Honestly, though, I think that it's mostly likely that we're going to start getting Saw Gerrera soon too, because there's only so many episodes left. We're like at the midway point. We have to start introducing more people that have been in the trailers.
Yeah,
and if they're all 3-episode arcs, then we've got like what, 2 more? I think so. Yeah, they need that moolah. They really need to get the money where it's going. Vel's going all over the place
now. They're all in the transport ship. Vel's girlfriend is unfortunately still on the Imperial planet, so hopefully she goes into hiding real quick.
Right. So speaking of which, so she totally killed those hostages, right?
No, they showed everyone was still alive. She just left.
They showed everyone was still alive, and then they showed her getting changed into a uniform in front of them all. Yeah. And then she just walked right out the front door. Do you really think that she's going to get changed into a disguise in front of a bunch of witnesses and then leave them there to talk about what happened as soon as they get rescued? She was also crying when she left too, like she had just done something very emotional.
I didn't notice that.
She had tears running down her face as she walked away during the eye.
I'll have to rewatch it. So you think she had to kill the wife and those kids?
And the 2 tech officers. Yeah, I mean, we know that she's the coldest one there, possibly the toughest one. We know that her family was murdered by stormtroopers.
That's true, they do.
And we know that she was crying when she left. I think she killed them. I
didn't notice that. I just noticed her like changing clothes and leaving. And I was like, all right, good for her. She didn't do shit.
I heard a rumor that Valorum was going to be in it, but what I think someone pointed out that it wasn't in fact Terrence Stamp, which means they've either recast Valorum or it's a different character.
I think it's a different character. I think we talked about that in one of our pre.
Oh, we did. You're right. We covered that. We totally covered that.
Yeah.
The next episode is a standalone.
Just like they just look like fucking twins. They just look too eerily similar, but I think they're totally different.
I mean, old white guys with white hair. With that same haircut, like there's a resemblance.
The Mr. Burns sculpt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like it was definitely
If it's a standalone,
like I said,
I'm actually more excited if it's a standalone because that means we're going to get a beginning and a middle and an end to react to tonight instead of just the start of something. You know what I mean?
Oh, like if they split it between like three different storylines.
That's what it's. Well, so far it's been arcs. Like. The story we were not going to get any sort of a satisfying conclusion until the 3rd episode of it, but if it's a standalone, then it'll do exactly that, standalone, and that might make for a more interesting experience because I'm definitely like in the mindset of like getting long like snippets of longer stories from Andor.
Yes.
So if they start throwing standalones in there, like it could be about anything really. It could be a whole episode about Dedra and the ISB, and their response to the heist.
Oh, but this is filler episode. Shut the fuck up. This is ISB history. This is still going to be, this is still Galactic Imperial history that we're getting.
Oh my God. Did someone say filler episode?
Out.
Ted, I got your voucher.
Out!
Get out of here with that.
It's the Ted, I got your vouchers for me. It's like, Ted, I got your vouchers. Someone in the background is like a fucking oh my God.
For what? For like parking validation?
Maybe for like food, your lunch vouchers.
What is Cyril's next move?
That's the girlfriend, right? That's what I'm saying.
No, Cyril Karn is the blue cereal guy, the very sad man who eats cereal.
Oh, very sad man with the abusive mother.
Cinta is the one who possibly wiped out all those people. Yeah, I want to know who Uncle Harlow is too, and if he turns out to be someone that we know by another name.
Oh,
or God, I'm sure they're going to avoid doing that because this is Andor. We don't really do that here.
Watch it be like some fucking. I don't know who could like Harlow Tarkin. Like I don't know. Like who could like I don't know Harlow Veers like
Harlow Jetster.
Yeah,
it's Dexter's brother.
Some random, I don't know. Just watch it be some someone we like you said, someone we
can't-
know that.
I don't know. I love to clown on Cyril, but at the same time, like he's all of us. He's just like me for real. He eats cereal, he cries into his cereal, and he has clone figure action figures in his bedroom. Like he's just a regular guy. He's just one of us.
Actually, Rianne brings up a good point. He could go on some obsessive thing of like, Andor ruined my fucking life, and just go on this warpath of like the dog, the bounty hunter. And he's like, I'm gonna find this Andor, and I'm gonna bring him to justice. Like he could try to go full vigilante about it.
I mean, he could. I think he could go either direction. He could double down and become even more of a fascist, or he could chase his sense of morals in another direction and end up in the rebellion at the end, some sort of a redemption arc. Because Star Wars loves their redemption arcs.
I don't know.
I thought the kid looked like the Blackwood boy, but I didn't want to say anything in case I was wrong. But I really thought that while I was watching it.
Was the kid hostage at the heist the same? Oh yeah, I don't.
From the wedding or from the courting when he was like, "I'm a pussy," grr, and he like stabbed the guy. Yeah, the Blackwood kid.
The fuck you say to me? Yeah.
Talking shit. Like fucking. No, that was great.
That fucking kid. Yeah, when you kill a teenager,
the biggest balls in Westeros.
After having the bravery to propose to a princess who's older than you too, like. Yeah,
that was the best moment in that episode.
Bravo, fucking bravo. Yeah,
he is exactly. He is the Blackwood boy. Good for that actor, man. Game of Thrones and Star Wars, and he's not even he's got to be like 10 years old.
That means that he's the third Game of Thrones actor in this show alone.
Nice, that's true. That's true.
We have Qyburn, we have the faceless girl, and now we have.
Yeah, we've got Qyburn, we've got Vel, the Wait. And yes, Lord Stabbington.
Yeah, stabby boy.
Lord Stabbington the Third.
And he pukes. But yeah, Andor. There's so much.
Yeah, he shot first. He was quick on the trigger. So Skeen was holding his DL-19, and he was firing single fucking shots, not laying down effective cover fire at all. It's totally the reason Tyrion got killed. And looking back, knowing what we know about Skeen's motivations now, I'm wondering if he did that on purpose.
Okay, so two things that I just realized too. How one, super fucked up how the one dude's like, yeah, you take 40,000, I'll take 40,000, and we'll split. And pew, it's gone as I burp. And then the second thing, you also hit the nail on the head last week by saying that everyone's gonna die except for the couple. And then so it's like, oh shit.
All of the men died. All of the men died except for Andor.
Yeah. The informant died. The stormtrooper that turned away got killed, and then
Tyrion.
It didn't get shot, but he got his fucking spine crushed.
Nemec got dude, that was so unexpected and like somehow way more violent than the shootout sequence, like because it was such an like abrupt, just like accident. Yeah. Also, the fact that there's something very symbolic about like the idealist, the dreamer of the group, getting crushed by literal money.
Imperial money.
He's just like, it's like he's like, I believe that like, we should be treated equal and everyone should have rights, and it's like capitalism, bitch.
Oh my god,
just like money pile, crush your fucking skull. Like,
oh my god.
He literally got crushed by profit.
How dare you? That's horrible.
That was death by credits.
Oh my god,
every Hutt's dream.
Death
a Hutt or a
credits, dude.
Dude, death by OSHA violation is literally all of Star Wars. Every chasm that doesn't have a railing on it for some reason, like all of it.
True.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though. You know what I mean. Like,
oh man. Death by torture.
Yeah, if he died outside of the ship, they would have left him, just like Gorn, just like Tyrion. Dude, Gorn died so fucking quick. I didn't even notice it first.
Oh yeah, he just got shot. He got sniped.
He got shot like so quick.
Catwalk. Yeah.
Also, a Marxist like Nemec getting crushed by capitalism is 100% poetic, and I'm sure it was intentional.
Marxist being crushed by capitalism.
Yeah, dude, no, the writing is amazing. The acting has been absolutely top.
I'm not going to be able to not think about that from now on. It's be like,
yeah, we gotta say that. I gotta bring that up when we tape our reaction tonight too, because like it's fucking ridiculous. It's totally what they were doing with that moment. I'm sure of it.
Oh god, that's so funny. It's horrible.
It is pretty bad.
But
But
we were
yeah,
so focused on like, oh my god, his spine, he's paralyzed, he's he's dead. And now we're just like, what killed him? Money.
they should have taken him to Dr. Six Arms instead.
Just flown to Tatooine instead.
Yeah.
Like clearly
he's more expensive. He's more expensive, but he does better
cybernetics
work.
fail.
He's got more arms. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Maybe that's also the difference. Like one was a spinal issue, and then Fennec, hers was like internal organs and like just being set on fire with a blaster bolt. So,
You know
like,
that if Dave Filoni had made this show, they would have taken him to like Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan.
and just tried to give him a new spine.
Or you know what? No, fuck that. He would have taken him to Dr. Mandible.
I don't remember who Dr. Mandible is.
He's a weird he's literally a giant ant, and he's chilling in the cantina in The Mandalorian. And the subtitles say his name is Dr. Mandible. He's a friend of Pelimato.
That's right. Dr. Six Arms tried his best. That's sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
You know, he really he's had a hard year. He had to bounce back from a medical malpractice suit earlier on, and now he's got a rebel that died on his table. It's just not going well. Not going well for him.
Could a Bacta tank fix a spine? I
don't think so.
Don't think so.
It's not like the bone grow juice from Harry Potter. It's like it'll fix like flesh wounds and it'll help heal organs and stuff.
So like when they put Finn in the Bacta tank after Kylo slashed his back in Force Awakens, I don't maybe Finn was just super fucking lucky and there wasn't any actual like.
I think he needed intensive therapy. That's why he was wearing that suit. It was more than a regular tank.
That's right.
It was like physical therapy.
They did.
Yeah, it was like physical therapy.
Power suit. That's true. Good point.
Kolto could do it.
Kolto could.
That's true. That's true. If you snort the Bacta, anything could happen. You might die. In fact, you'll have blue nosebleeds for a month, but you'll feel fantastic.
You'll feel everything. It'll cure cancer. Just
Kolto could have if it wasn't for my Revan playthrough, where I killed the fucking shark, like tanked the economy of Manon, and now Kolto is like through the roof expensive. So sorry about that. Sorry, that is canon.
That was also 3,000 years ago. So
my choices were canon. Nobody else's.
Dude, that's the fucking internet. Fuck you.
Yeah. My Revan is the real Revan, and she's played by Brie Larson.
God.
And she's canon. God damn it.
That's so real. Yes.
I think Bacta helps regenerate cells. Spines need surgeons. Totally, because if Bacta was the be all end all, we wouldn't really have advanced medical professionals necessarily, right?
Yeah. And that's why Fennec needed robot belly parts.
She was beyond Bacta. Well, also, I feel like the how long it took to get to her, because she laid there dead for a while.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
If she had been immediately given Bacta, it might have like slowed it down. But like, yeah, no, she needed new insides completely.
And everyone who's gonna be like, well, what about Darth Maul? Darth Maul, he survived off hate and spite and dark magic and
garbage.
Maul, and what? And garbage. Garbage. Spider legs. Maul
he stuffed his waist hole with garbage and got real mad and survived.
And that snake and that weird garbage snake would feed him people, and he just ate.
And you know what? That's totally acceptable to people. They're like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. He used some garbage and he was real angry, and there was a worm snake thing. But when people talk about Palpatine using ancient Sith alchemy to come back in 9, they're like, that's so lazy. That doesn't make any sense at all. What do you mean somehow he returned? Fucking somehow Darth Maul returned. Come on.
With using the power of hate. Using the power of hatred.
That sounds very poetic, but it means nothing. That doesn't actually do. I'm fucking full of hate. I couldn't cut myself in half and stay alive. Like, no matter how much garbage I plug in there. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Shout out to Darth Maul. That's why
I think that if you have catastrophic damage to your body, like Vader's crispified lungs, for example, you need a regular back to therapy course, maybe for the rest of your life if the damage is bad enough. Like Boba Fett was digested by a Sarlacc, and he was
that was body acid. Yeah, that was
pretty well messed up from that. And he was in a back to course of maybe like, I don't know, it seemed like a month went by, maybe. But even then, he was at full strength by the final episode. So if you can recover in a short amount of time from a Sarlacc digestion, like on the one hand, it just shows how badly Vader was really injured on Mustafar.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! Lava.
That he needs like constant back to just completely immersed in it on a like. Whenever he's not on mission, that's like has to be his default state.
Yeah. Oh no. Like I was my mom and I, we were rewatching the Lord of the Rings trilogy because Rings of Power, and like we got to the volcano part of Return of the King, when Sam and Frodo are like literally on the cusp of death.
Share the load.
And they're sitting on that little rock ledge, and they're just surrounded by lava, and the eagles are just about to swoop down. Both my mom and I are like,
the third eagle was for Gollum.
At that point, like, wouldn't they have just been atmospherically just combusted? Like,
they would probably be on fire, being on that rock, just like from the residual heat.
But the power of friendship and plot armor kept them alive.
Power of friendship and fucking plot armor, bro. That is literally how they survived.
Yeah, Anakin didn't get that.
No, Anakin, it absolutely breaks my heart that they sent 3 eagles, and the third eagle was supposed to be for Gollum. Like, he was gonna come back, man. Can you imagine what his life would have been like after destroying the ring?
Potentially.
Like,
yeah, who knows?
Oh man. I don't know if he would have been able to reassimilate into society. I think that I think that it would have been different though, with the ring's power finally not having a hold on him. Like, who knows? I don't think he could have existed in the Fourth Age. He wouldn't have been able to hack it.
Yeah. I mean, granted, will the Shire, will hobbits be able to hack it? They're still completely hidden from the rest of humanity on a nature
which is totally advantageous to them, honestly. They get to have their little isolationist society far away from all the craziness until like an epic evil like Sauron comes to the land.
But that didn't happen, so no.
I would love to get like, and it would be man, if you think rings of power feathers.
I can see you, Murdoch. Fuck all, and that eagle was there as air support. That was the
yeah, you're right. He was just the wingman running point.
He was the point eagle.
That's part of Gwahir Squadron.
I feel you. That's fair. That's my head.
You're right. He would have rapidly aged like Bilbo, but didn't he rapidly age, and that's why he was so pallid and gross? Like, he was corrupted also, but I think that he would have looked significantly less gross if he hadn't been so old.
I mean, at what point does a raisin stop aging?
When you eat it.
When it's a raisin, can it get more wrinkly? I think Gollum was already in the raisin state of his thing, and then because he'd been full corrupted, so it's like you don't really know.
Interesting. The Dunedain were protecting the hobbits and the Shire's borders on Gandalf's orders.
That's cool. We're just gonna put a whole shimmer spell over the Shire.
I can dig it. Okay, Bilbo's 111. Gollum's like 500.
Jesus.
Okay. So that's the difference.
For real?
That's the difference that it makes. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Considering the Gollum's 500 and considering what Bilbo looks like when the ring is gone, Gollum, his skin is amazing.
I mean, granted, it's like purely onto his bone structure.
Yeah, but there's not a blemish or a wrinkle. He looks glamorous as fuck for a 500-year-old dude in a loincloth. Like, he's in remarkably good shape, I have to say.
It's the yoga. It's the yoga and all the raw fish.
Yes, he does a lot of flexible activities that are unspeakable, and we won't talk about them, but he stays in good shape up there in Mordor.
He kills and eats goblins,
He moisturizes with a ton of fish. Yeah, he's got a pretty damn good skincare.
We're figuring this out. This. We're answering the hard-hitting questions now.
Step 1,
avoid. Get out of here.
Step 1, avoid taters. No taters allowed.
Get out of here. Yeah.
No nasty chips. Neutrogena Mordor. Juicy sweet.
Yeah.
Gollum's kind of a looker. Think about, what other 500-year-old people do you know? What do they look like?
Yoda's 900.
Yoda's skin is not in as good as shape as Gollum's. I'm sorry, it's not.
That's fair.
Give it to us raw and regal.
Fucking yeah. What a creature, man. What an absolute creature. And it again, like, speaking of Jar Jar, like, if it wasn't for Jar Jar Binks, we wouldn't have had Gollum.
It's true. Jar Jar walked so that Gollum could run.
Or crawl.
Absolutely true. So that Gollum could, like,
flail
around like a little weirdo.
Flail and scamper, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right. All the elves, Galadriel, they're all pretty damn old. But you know what? They've never been corrupted by a ring, all right? And they're not immortal. I'm talking about, give me a 500-year-old mortal. That's more what I mean.
How old is Aragorn? Not that old. I don't think
Aragorn?
500.
He's 87 in Lord of the Rings.
He's only 87? Oh shit.
Yeah. He's only 87. He's a strapping young lad.
Oh gosh. But
when Elendil dies, he's like 270 something, and when Isildur cuts the ring from his finger, he's 234.
Isildur is 234.
Isildur is 234 when he cuts the ring from his finger.
Gotcha.
And right now he's like his actual age. He's like 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get some massive time skips of like centuries throughout this show. The show's gonna cover like 200 years, Rings of Power, at least.
I just realized like season 2 of Rings of Power also has to be Isildur escaping what is now Mordor, because the last we see of Isildur is the collapsed burning building falling on
He's
top.
gonna wake up on the slopes of Mount fucking Doom with like orcs and just shit everywhere. He's gonna, what? Like,
yeah, dude.
Fuck. Oh man, that's gonna be dope. I can't wait.
And he has to survive and run away. He has to survive and make it out, and somehow, I don't know, send a letter and a raven to his dad. Like, I'm alive.
Isildur has to Uncle Benjen his way out of Mordor, being chased by literal Uncle Benjen.
Well, no, dude. I think Uncle Benjen's going to be having to fight Halbrand now. They have their priorities straight.
Yes, but Isildur like was lost in the area that Adar currently controls, so he's much more likely to run into Adar's forces than Halbrand's forces in the very beginning. Man, I'm so down. I'm so down for this next season.
Armor. Isildur. That's perfect. He's just
seal door. Seal the door.
He's got that thick plot armor. It's true. It's like he has to. We know it's like the Andor series. It's like we know where his story ends up. So it's like the worst can happen to him, and he's just gonna bumble his way through all of it. Yeah.
I feel like Isildur and Halbrand will interact.
Oh God, could you? Oh,
it's gonna be. It's maybe it'll even be like Halbrand laying the foundation for what later ends up undoing Isildur. You know, like. Isildur is totally like we already know that he's kind of a selfish asshole, to be honest. Like he got all of his friends kicked out of the sailing academy just because he didn't want to do it. Like he doesn't think about how
he didn't need for that to happen, but still,
no. Yes. But he didn't think about it. He didn't think about the consequences and how it affects other people. And so that makes that lines up with being like, ooh, I like this ring. I'm going to keep it for myself. I'm not going to destroy it. But what if that didn't even come from himself? What if Halbrand plants the seed 200 years earlier, being like, hey, you know, that one ring's pretty cool. If you had it, all your problems would go away. Just saying. Anyway, see ya. And then like the moment comes and like, whoosh, you know, that would be badass. Because just because he's been revealed doesn't mean he has to stop manipulating. It doesn't mean he has to stop deceiving people, because not everyone knows that he's Sauron. And Isildur especially would be fooled.
Well, Isildur still knows him as Halbrand, and just
it's true. He's met him before, so he would trust him.
He would trust him. Yep.
He'd be like, "Hey, why are you wearing that evil cloak? And why are you hanging out with orcs?
Are you wearing such a dark cloak, dude? Yeah, right." You're like, "Oh, hey, random Gondor soldier, what are you still doing here?" And they'll have kind of have like a weird pointing, looking at each other moment of like, "Are you gonna kill me? Are you gonna kill me? Do you know the truth? What truth?" You're like, "Oh, never mind."
Sauron's like, "I'ma stab yo daddy."
Yeah, right. Like at some point he's gonna die. You know, Numenor's gonna have their own civil war at some point, dude. Season 2 is gonna go off.
Yeah, they sailed back. The banners of the death of the king are all over the place. Pharazon's totally gonna be sitting on that throne when they walk in there. And Miriel is fucking blind, so like she's totally at a disadvantage here. Like they're gonna use that as propaganda ammunition as a reason why she shouldn't lead.
Yeah. Which also goes with her father's prophecy of like, if you go to Middle Earth, only darkness will you find. Well, it's like, yeah, she can't fucking see now. All she sees is dark. Shit.
That is not my understanding of Isildur's story. If so, that is significantly different to how he's portrayed in the Jackson films.
He was on his way to Rivendell to take the ring to Elrond when he was jumped by orcs. Yeah, his son urged him to use the ring to escape. Yeah, but he was still like, there was still that moment on the ledge where he was like, Isildur, destroy it, and he straight up.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Why was he on his way to take the ring to Elrond when he could have just cast it into the fire? You know, and if he'd showed up,
maybe he had to own it. Maybe he had to own it for like a good 50 years. You know, like maybe he had to do the heroin for a while before he's like, maybe this heroin isn't for me.
Maybe there was just mad time compression with the way they set it up in the prologue, because it shows him cut the ring off, refuse to throw it, And then it literally looks like it literally looks like he's riding home from Mount Doom in that shot when he gets jumped by orcs. So like no time passes.
Yep.
But we know that time had to have passed because when Gandalf goes to Minas Tirith and reads through the scrolls, there's all of these accounts, handwritten accounts by Isildur talking about how it is precious to me and like the writing is beginning to fade over time and like so clearly time did pass and he wrote all these accounts about it. So it must have been a totally separate instance. So it's possible he was on his way.
It's possible that he had a drug issue or he had an intervention. Someone had to have an intervention and be like, "My lord, this ring is kind of fucking with you. Maybe you should get rid of it." He's like, "You know who else told me I should get rid of this ring? Elrond. Let's go on a horseback.
Elrond. I wonder how that guy's doing. Let's go
visit Elrond real quick." I mean, that could completely be plausible. That can completely be plausible.
What if that's the only way she can see? What if she uses the Palantir to compensate for her vision and she becomes like a vision queen, you know?
Like, this is the only way I can see now. I see all and everything. But dude, her dad though,
Ponder that fucking orb.
Her dad though, when he was like, "I can no longer tell what's real and what's not. I can no longer see what is now and what is the future." Like, bro, like he was.
That's totally what happened to Denethor as well. They skipped over it in the Return of the King in the movie version, but Denethor had a Palantir, and he'd been communicating with Sauron with it, and it had been corrupting his mind, and that's partly why he was so antagonistic to Gandalf.
Oh, really?
And in the scene when Gandalf comes to save Faramir from being burned alive, Denethor pulls out a Palantir and he's like, "I know your game. I know what you're trying to do. Sauron told me everything, you bitch." Like
Sauron told me everything.
Yeah. And then it plays out pretty much the way we see it. And the reason why they were able to cut it is because it didn't end up having much of an impact on the end game of the story. And they decided to just make Denethor like a dick of a father. And that was his motivation.
Totally fair.
And John Noble killed it. He did great, but he was totally like Palantir addicted and like
interesting.
It's very much the blueprint of someone who gets like taken in by Fox News and like right-wing media, and then they're all like, "You're all being lied to. I know the truth because of this source that I've got." Like
source. Oh my god, that's
exactly like the Palantir was feeding Denethor like Mordor news, and that was it. Like, and it totally changed the way he viewed everything and made him suspicious and evil. And so Miriel might suffer the same
Gondor is mine and no others.
And no others.
Gondor
We're Stewart only. Yeah, John Noble stole that scene. He was so good. Yeah, the Palantir made Denethor lose hope and fall into despair, and it's totally just like Sauron doing his manipulation to turn Denethor, the Steward of Gondor, away from Gandalf and away from his plan. Mordor propaganda, 100%. That's what it is.
Propaganda. Oh my god, I love it. It's fake news.
Sauron, I don't believe that Sauron is controlling the Palantiri so much as Sauron is allowing himself to be perceived by people who have the Palantirs.
You're using a Ouija board.
Yeah, all he has to do is exude through his will what he wants you to feel, and as long as you are perceiving him, looking into that eye, then it'll happen. So Sauron doesn't actually have to manipulate a Palantir, a seeing stone himself. He just has to stand there and be like, "Look at me."
He just
I want you to feel this type of way about it, and then you will.
He just manipulates what the people see in the Palantir, I think is what it is. And then eventually he reveals himself. Because that's what Saruman said. That's what Saruman said. Saruman's like, "I have foreseen it." And then says, and then he tells Gandalf that like he's been talking to Saruman for a while and that he's very persuasive. But it's like, yeah.
But it's not, but I feel like, again, he wasn't silver-tongued about it. He was more like, "There is no hope. You can't stand against me. Here are all the reasons why you will ultimately fail if you try it. Give up and join me." Like, it wasn't sort of like, "My side is better. My side is morally right. You should join me for these reasons." It was just literally, "If you don't join me, you'll lose the war."
A wild Canadian, don't give Alex Jones that much coolness. If anything, Alex Jones is Wormtongue, okay? Or
Wormtongue, or like the mouth of Sauron,
Yeah, he's not that cool at all. He's not on that
level.
Build
an army worthy of Mordor. Easily my favorite acting, wizard acting that I've ever seen. Not even all of Christopher Lee, just his fucking hand doing that, like
with the gross fingers, dude, with the
and like the bone
fingers.
cracking sounds and shit. Apparently,
and then if you watch his face, like as he's like doing the Palantir thing, like he like smiles and like nods his head when he called Sauron Lord of the Earth, because he's trying to boost Sauron's ego the entire time. So he's like, "What is thy will, Sauron, Lord of?"
He's trying to be as deferential as possible.
Sauron's he's totally gonna love if I call
buttering him up.
Go. Yeah.
Apparently, in that scene, with the day of that filming, Christopher Lee had slammed his hand in a car door.
Oh God.
And he had to go to the hospital, and it's all bandaged up. And if you watch the scene where the orcs come in and they're like, "What news from the Eye? What does Mordor command?" He's sitting there. His arm is like tucked in here.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, "We have work to do." The reason he's so huddled is because he had to hide his hands because it was all bandaged and like gnarled.
That makes sense.
But it works because it looks like Sauron is all like, "Oh God, he's hella depleted." He's just been like, it's all been taken out of him just in this conversation with Sauron, trying to maintain composure. Like, yeah. He was. That's the reason why he seems so traumatized. And then also, in the deleted scene of Return of the King, when Aragorn picks up the Palantir and like straight just talks shit to Sauron and shows him Narsil, it's so good. Yeah, that's Pippin. Pippin's all like, "Oh God, oh no." But Aragorn's able to like he just like bites his tongue and keeps going through it. So badass.
Murdoch, I think in the Filoni universe, I'm sure Dooku on plenty of occasions probably like tried to butter up Palpatine. I can't imagine the Christopher Lee Palpatine or Dooku doing it, or like I can't imagine the Dooku we're about to see in Tales of the Jedi. I can't imagine him necessarily being like, "Let me sweet talk this Sith Lord." I think it's more so of like, we're on the same political agenda now. Like this dude.
Honestly, I think that Palpatine wants people to be off balance and off like on the back foot whenever they're dealing with him as Sidious.
Yeah.
So as soon as he communicates with someone like Dooku, for example, he reaches out through the Force. And Dooku can feel the hand on his balls, but it's not squeezing, but it's there.
But it's there.
But it's there. So he's like, Palpatine, like, "Hello, my lord."
But I don't think it's
I don't think knowing that all he's got to do is, he's going to feel it.
I never got the feeling that it was an ego boost relationship. Versus like, I think Maul, if out of any of the Sith apprentices, I'm sure Maul or Savage would have been the most to like kiss Palpatine's ass. And would have been like, "Anything for you, Master. Anything."
Really? Because I feel like it would be Grievous.
Grievous could, well, yeah.
Grievous has too much. Asajj has too much in her.
Grievous. He's like just a general to a T. So I feel like he just has that natural like, "Yes, sir, anything."
He would have had no problem being just a servant, totally. But Asajj Ventress wouldn't have worked for her.
I meant Savage Opress.
Oh, Savage. I think you said Asajj. Sorry, yeah. No. Savage would have worked. Savage could have worked.
Well, Ventress, she kind of tried with Dooku. She tried to do the ass kissing with Dooku, and Dooku wasn't having it. And then she was like, "Well, fuck you, old man. I'm just going to try to beat you every chance I get."
She was doing the ass kissing to Dooku because of what it was going to do to serve her, not to serve him.
Yeah.
And Dooku was like, "I will use this. This is still useful to me." But Palpatine would have seen through that shit in a second and been like, "I don't think so. Your plan, the goal, the end game needs to be being my servant. If you have ambitions beyond that, then I'm gonna kill you." Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. Cool. Well, this has been a good epic edition of the Dork Forces podcast. We got to wrap it up here though. Start getting ready for Andor tonight. Happy Andor Eve to all who celebrate.
Yes. And hang out with us next week because we'll actually be talking about the House of the Dragon season finale.
Yes, can't wait for that.
That would have happened, and we'd be one step closer to Tales of the Jedi. So stay tuned for all of that.
Yeah, it'll be the last podcast before Tales of the Jedi. So we're probably going to lay down all of our predictions, expectations, things that we expect to have come on in there,
and then it'll be Halloween.
Yes, I can't wait for that too. We'll get to have our post-Halloween breakdown as well. Talk about all the stuff that we got into. Tomorrow, right here on the channel, Comics with Katarn will be going on. I know that there was an issue that happened today. That was last week's comics. And then tomorrow we're doing another one for this week's comics. So I can't wait for that. there was something else. Yes, the Patreon poll for this next episode of Andor is live right now. So if you want to go participate in the poll, we read the comments out in the beginning of the reaction video for episode 7.
2 more hours.
Yeah, you've got 2 more hours to get it in there. Patreon.com/Kyle channel. Would be great if people jump in there. I'm not sure if I'm dressing up yet. I have a bunch of just random costumes that I've gotten from over the years, and I haven't put enough time or energy into it. So I'm going to have to probably throw on something I would have worn before.
My only plan is to just dress up as Gandalf, just because one, it's just gray robes. It's the easiest costume I have versus just trying to put on full Doctor Strange shit. Because one, it's a Monday night, so I don't know how many trick-or-treaters are actually going to happen.
Sure.
But I still plan on, like, I want to walk around my neighborhood and look at whatever potential Halloween decorations.
Yeah, see some cool sites. That's usually what I end up doing because I don't do trick-or-treating as much, but I want to take advantage of the cool decorations that are put out and things like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, to play us out, I've got the...
We'll be watching Hellraiser. We might be watching Hellraiser.
Yes. I need to react to the originals and then get in on that new one as well.
Just the first one. Just watch the first and second.
Okay, I could do that. To play us out, I've got a clip kind of from the sands of time here.
Rayad Mata, I'm excited to see your Jake Lockley costume. We've been talking about this. But anyway, yeah, play us out. Play us live.
That sounds... Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at all these. Max Rebo and Gandalf Cross. I think I could make that happen. Groomsmen for my best friend and their wedding is Halloween themed. Dope. That sounds fun. That sounds like a
Halloween
fun wedding.
Weddings are the best weddings, man.
It's great to see you, Dr. Seth. Captain Pike, I dig that too. So this is a blooper reel that we put together years ago. This is young Kyle and young Bendu back when the channel was like 6 months old. So most of y'all probably have never seen this before. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, may the force be with you. Hello there, Kyle Katarn here, returning with another Star Wars shit. Hello there, Kyle Katarn here.
Hey, Finn. Hey, Force friend, Bendu.
Returning. Now you transferred it onto me. Now I have it. No, it's cool. Let's take the whole thing from the top. Cool. Alrighty, without further ado. Shit. Returning with another reaction to Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures.
Yeah, fuck.
Hello there. Shit.
I was distracted by the toilet.
Hello there. Kyle Katarn here.
And Bendu the Grey.
Come.
That was awesome. Take the picture.
Technical difficulties. Bear with me.
Hello there. Fucking yell at you. For Asgard.
Hello there. Coming back for another Galaxy of Adventure. We're supposed to say that together. I fucked it up. Oh shit! You know what I forgot to do? Hello there. Kyle Katarn here.
Force friends, it's Bendu.
Returning. Wait, I'm not returning. Yes, returning for more.
We're both returning.
Hold on. Kyle Katarn here.
And Bendu.
Coming back for a fucking. Forgot to use the lightsaber. Hello there. Yes.
First try.
Nailed it. Tuesday.
Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law,
Breaking the law.
breaking the law, breaking the law.
Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Okay, now
Hey,
it just
guess
has
who?
to be fucking done.
Guess who? Hello there, Kyle. Sorry. Look forward. I got this. Don't laugh. Oh, what have we done? Hello there.
Nothing. Are you that light?
Wah, wah. I will voice. Okay. Clone Wars 13. What?
I'm just so ready.
I know. This is gonna be fucking amazing. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, may the force be with you.